The great hall of the alien court was silent. Only the sound of chains echoed against the tall metal walls. Blue light from glowing crystals filled the room, casting long shadows on the floor. Hundreds of aliens stood in the crowd, watching, whispering, waiting for the punishment to begin. At the center of the hall, a young alien girl knelt on the cold floor. Her hands were tied behind her back. Her silver skin was bruised and her eyes, large and bright, were full of fear. The judge, a tall alien with black armor and glowing eyes, stood above her. He held a metal rod that glimmered like fire. "You are found guilty," his voice thundered, echoing through the chamber. "Guilty of stealing royal food. The punishment is 300 lashes, the crowd gasped. 300 lashes meant death. But no one cared. No one except one human boy standing quietly at the edge of the hall. He was not supposed to be here. He was just a cleaner, one of many humans forced to work under alien command. But he couldn't look away. He had seen that girl before. She was the one who gave him half of her bread when he was starving a week ago, and now she was about to die for stealing food. The guards stepped forward. They carried long metal whips that glowed red-hot at the tips. The girl shivered but didn't cry. She looked up, her voice shaking. "I didn't steal for myself," she whispered. "My brother was hungry." The judge slammed his staff. "Silence. You broke the law. You will pay." The guards pulled her up. The crowd began to cheer cruelly. Some threw stones. Others laughed and shouted, "Teach her a lesson." The human boy's hands trembled. His heart pounded. Every part of him wanted to run forward, but he knew what would happen if he did. Humans were not allowed to speak in alien courts. Interfering meant death. But when the first guard raised his whip, something inside him broke. He couldn't stand it anymore. He took a step forward. Then another. And another. The crowd fell silent. The human boy walked to the center of the hall. His clothes were torn and dirty, his face pale, but his eyes were strong. He stood between the girl and the guards. The commander snarled, "Human! Get back to your place." The boy didn't move. He raised his voice, calm but full of fire. "If someone must be punished," he said, "punish me instead." Gasps filled the hall. The aliens stared at him in disbelief. The judge tilted his head. "You dare to defy alien law?" The boy nodded. "She didn't steal for herself. She was trying to save someone. That's not a crime." The judge laughed, a cold metallic sound. "Humans have no right to speak here." But the boy didn't step back. He took off his torn jacket and gently covered the alien girl's shoulders. She looked at him, tears filling her eyes. "Why are you doing this?" She whispered. "You'll be killed." "Because you don't deserve this," he said softly. "And because once you shared your food with me. You didn't let me die hungry." The guards hesitated. No one had ever seen a human act like this before. The crowd murmured in confusion. Some aliens frowned. Some looked away, ashamed. The judge slammed his staff again. "Enough, take him away!" Two guards grabbed the boy by the arms. He didn't fight. He just looked at the judge and said, "If you want to hurt someone, hurt me. I can take it." The judge's glowing eyes narrowed. "You think pain makes you brave, human?" "No," the boy said. "Kindness does." The hall went silent again. Even the cruel commander stopped smiling. The boy's words hung in the air like a spark in dry grass. And in that moment, something strange happened. The alien girl stopped shaking. She looked at him, hope flickering in her eyes for the first time. The judge turned away, furious. "Fine," he said coldly. "If you want to share her fate, so be it." The guards pushed the girl aside and forced the human boy to his knees. They tied his hands behind his back. The commander smirked. 300 lashes, then. Maybe humans will learn their place. The human took a deep breath. He didn't beg. He didn't cry. He just looked toward the alien girl and smiled faintly. "It's all right," he whispered. "Don't cry." The first whip cracked through the air. The sound echoed through the court like thunder. Blood marked the floor, but the boy didn't scream. He stayed silent, his eyes open, staring forward. The crowd was no longer laughing. Even the cruel ones were quiet now. They had never seen a human stand so tall. The alien girl's tears fell onto the metal floor. She wanted to run to him, to stop the guards, to shout, but her voice broke. The judge watched in silence. And for the first time, he seemed unsure. The lashes continued. Each strike was harder than the last. But the boy never begged for mercy. He only whispered one thing again and again. "Punish me, not her." By the time the whip stopped, the boy's back was torn and bleeding. He could barely breathe. The hall was silent, cold, and still. The alien girl crawled to him, shaking. She held his face in her hands. His lips were pale, but he smiled faintly. "You're safe now," he whispered. Then his head fell against her shoulder. The guards pulled her away. The boy lay still on the ground. And the crowd, once full of laughter, now stood in silence, watching a single human who had just changed everything. The hall still trembled with silence after the first lash. The human boy's back was bleeding, but his eyes remained open. He didn't cry, didn't speak, didn't fall. His strength confused everyone. No one had seen a human endure pain like that before. The commander raised his hand again, but the alien judge stopped him. "Wait," the judge said. His voice was low, uneasy. He looked at the boy, small, weak, broken, but still standing. "What are you trying to prove, human?" The boy lifted his head. His lips trembled, but his voice was steady. "I'm proving that kindness is not a weakness." The words echoed across the court. For the first time, no one laughed. Even the guards hesitated. The alien girl looked up from the floor, her tears mixing with dust. She had never seen courage like this. The commander sneered, trying to bring back the fear. "You think this will change anything? You're nothing but a slave." The boy smiled faintly. "Maybe, but at least I'm a slave who can choose to stand for someone." The crowd murmured again. Some aliens whispered to each other, confused and restless. The humans' defiance had disturbed something deep inside them. No one was supposed to challenge alien law, but this boy, this fragile, wounded human, was rewriting the unspoken rules of fear. The commander shouted, "Guards, continue." The whips rose again, but the judge raised his staff. "Enough," he said coldly. "Let us see how brave he is when the punishment grows harder." Two soldiers dragged forward a machine, a glowing rod that hummed with energy. It wasn't just a whip, it burned. Each strike would leave a mark that would never heal. The alien girl screamed, "No, please." Her voice cracked, but no one listened. The boy looked at her and shook his head gently. "It's all right," he whispered. Then the rod came down. The sound was worse than before, a sharp crack followed by the smell of burning flesh. The boy's body shuddered, but he didn't scream. He bit his lip until it bled. The commander grinned, trying to break him. But the boy lifted his head again. His voice was faint, but everyone heard it. "She was hungry. That's not a crime." The judge slammed his staff. Silence. But the boy's words had already spread through the crowd like fire. The workers watching from the upper balconies began to whisper. Some of them were human, too. They looked down at him, not with pity, but with pride. Even the alien guards began to look uneasy. Each lash that followed didn't just hit the boy's skin. It struck at the very idea of cruelty they had built their world upon. The alien girl cried harder now. She crawled toward him even as the guards tried to push her back. Her hands trembled as she touched his shoulder. "Please stop," she whispered. "They'll kill you." He turned his head slowly toward her. "I'd rather die standing," he said softly, "than live watching someone suffer for being kind." The guards froze for a moment. Something in those words made even their hearts shake. The judge shouted again, angry and afraid, "Enough! Take him away before the crowd forgets their place." But it was already too late. The silence of the crowd was no longer fear, it was respect. Every alien in that hall knew they had witnessed something powerful. Something that could not be erased with lashes or laws. Two guards carried the human away. He could barely stand, his legs weak, his back torn. The alien girl tried to follow, but they held her down. As the boy was dragged out of the hall, he looked back at her and managed a small, broken smile. "I told you," he whispered. "You're safe now." Then the doors closed behind him. The hall remained silent. No one spoke. Even the cruel commander couldn't meet anyone's eyes. The alien girl stayed on the floor, trembling. She didn't know what would happen next, but one thing was certain. This human had changed something inside her forever. That night, whispers spread through the city about a human boy who stood before the whips and said the words that no one had ever dared to say, "Punish me instead." The doors of the court slammed shut, but the echoes of that human's voice refused to fade. "Punish me instead." Those words haunted every alien who had heard them. In the cold chamber beyond the hall, the human boy was chained to a metal pillar. The air smelled of rust and pain. His body trembled, but his spirit didn't break. Guards surrounded him. their faces hidden behind glass helmets. They didn't speak, yet their hesitation was clear. One of them whispered, "He's just a boy. Are we really doing this?" The commander glared at him. "Do it! Show the others what happens when a human defies the law." The whip cracked. Its glowing energy tore through the air and struck his back. A deep red mark burned across his skin. He gritted his teeth, his breath sharp, but not a single cry left his lips. Instead, he lifted his head and stared straight ahead. He wanted them to see that they couldn't break him. The alien girl was locked in a small cell nearby. Through the bars, she could hear the lashes. Each sound pierced her like a blade. Her hands shook, her heart pounded. She pressed her face to the metal bars and screamed, "Stop! Please stop!" But no one answered. The commander smirked. Still silent? Humans are strange creatures. He raised the whip again, striking harder this time. Blood splattered on the floor. The boy fell to his knees, his vision blurring, but he stayed awake. He whispered, barely audible, "I'm still here." The guards looked at each other uneasy. Even they could feel it now, the strange power in his silence. It wasn't pride. It wasn't madness. It was love. A kind of love they didn't understand. Hours passed. The commander grew tired, yet the boy still breathed. Every time the whip struck, he thought of her face. The alien girl's frightened eyes, the way she tried to shield her brother. He remembered her kindness when she shared her bread. He remembered her soft voice saying, "Be careful." That memory gave him strength when everything else faded. Finally, the commander dropped the whip. "Enough," he growled. "He's not worth killing. Let him rot." The guards unchained the boy and dragged him across the floor. His blood left a dark trail behind him. When they threw him into the small cell beside the girls, she rushed forward. Her hand shook as she lifted his head into her lap. His breathing was weak. His skin was pale. Yet he smiled faintly when he saw her. "You're safe," he whispered. She shook her head, tears falling on his face. "No, you're the one who's dying." He tried to laugh, but it came out as a broken breath. "Then it's worth it." For the first time, she saw something in his eyes. Not weakness, not pity, but something fierce and beautiful. He had chosen pain to protect her. He had stood against an empire. The girl held his hand tightly. Her heart ached in a way she didn't understand. All her life she was told humans were selfish, cowardly, small. But this boy shattered every lie. And in that moment she made a silent promise. If he lived, she would never let his courage be forgotten. Outside the cell, the guards stood in silence. The commander left, pretending he didn't see the shame in their eyes. One of the younger soldiers whispered, "He's more alien than we are." No one disagreed. Hours later, as the alien city slept beneath the twin moons, a rumor began to spread through the lower quarters. A story of a human who stood before the lash to save an alien girl. Some called him mad. Others called him brave. But one thing was certain. Nothing in that empire would ever be the same again. And as the alien girl watched over him through the night, she whispered to the stars, "I'll heal you. I'll make sure they remember your name." The night was silent except for the soft hum of alien machinery. Silver moons hung over the city, casting pale light through the cracks of the prison ceiling. Inside the dark cell, the human boy lay still on the cold floor, his breath faint, his body broken. The alien girl sat beside him, her hands trembling as she tore a piece of her dress to wrap his wounds. Her tears fell onto his back, mixing with the blood that refused to stop. Each breath he took was a battle. Each heartbeat sounded weaker than the last. "Don't leave me," she whispered, pressing her palm against his chest. "I'll fix this. I promise." She had never felt so helpless before. Her whole life she believed strength came from power, from obeying the strong. But now she saw a different kind of strength, quiet, human, and full of pain. The cell was cold, but she refused to rest. She dipped the torn cloth into the little water bowl and cleaned his wounds, whispering softly like a prayer. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." His eyelids moved. A faint smile appeared on his lips. "You're still crying," he whispered weakly. "You shouldn't cry for me," her voice cracked. "You took my punishment. How can I not cry?" He turned his head slightly, looking at her with half-open eyes. "I did it because you gave me bread when I had nothing. That was the first time anyone was kind to me." He tried to laugh but winced in pain. "Guess I owed you something." The girl covered her mouth, trying not to sob. You don't owe me anything. You saved me. Outside the cell, the guards whispered quietly. None of them dared to enter. They pretended not to see the alien girl tending to the human. Something in their hearts told them this was not just punishment anymore. This was something sacred. Hours passed. The human drifted between sleep and pain. The alien girl hummed an old lullaby from her home world, her voice soft and shaky. Each note carried both sorrow and hope. Her song filled the empty corridor, and even the guard stood still to listen. When the morning light began to creep through the small window, the girl noticed his breathing grow stronger. The bruises still looked terrible, but his heartbeat was steadier. She smiled through her tears. "You're healing," she whispered. "You humans are tougher than you look." He smiled faintly. "Maybe. Or maybe I just wanted to see you smile again." Her face turned red, but she didn't look away. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel like a criminal or a slave. She felt alive because someone saw her as worth saving. Moments later, footsteps echoed in the hallway. The commander entered, his armor shining under the dim light. His face was cold, but his voice was not as loud as before. "So the hero is still breathing," he said. The girl glared at him, shielding the human with her body. "You've done enough," she said, her tone shaking but brave. The commander stared at her, then at the boy. He turned away. "Keep him alive," he muttered to the guards. "The governor wants to see him." As he left, the girl's heart raced. She didn't know if that was good or bad news. But she knew one thing. This boy was now something the aliens couldn't ignore. A symbol of rebellion. A human who stood against the lash. She looked down at him, brushing her fingers through his hair gently. "You changed everything," she whispered. "You made them see us differently." He opened his eyes, barely awake, and whispered, "I didn't change them." "You did?" She smiled softly. For the first time, she believed it might be true. Outside, the twin moons faded as dawn broke over the alien city. And in that small, cold cell, something warmer than sunlight had already begun to grow. A bond between two souls from different worlds. The next morning, the sky above the alien city burned gold with twin suns. Inside the prison, whispers filled the halls. Whispers about the human boy who took 300 lashes and lived. Guards spoke his story in secret. Workers repeated it in the factories, and soon even the nobles knew his name. But to the human boy, he was still just no one. That's what they always called him. Just another servant, nameless, replaceable. Now lying weak on the infirmary bed, he opened his eyes to see the alien girl sitting beside him, still refusing to leave. "You're awake," she said softly, relief in her voice. He tried to sit up, but pain stopped him. "You shouldn't be here," he whispered. "They'll punish you again." She shook her head. "Let them try. I'm not leaving you again." She handed him water, and for the first time he noticed the strange gentleness in her eyes. Something not born of pity, but respect. She looked at him the way no alien had ever looked at a human before. Outside the door, the guards argued quietly. "The governor ordered him to appear," one said. "He wants to see the human himself." The girl's heart froze. The governor was the highest authority after the emperor, cold, ruthless, and feared. She knew what that meant. If the governor saw him as a threat, he wouldn't survive another day. 2 guards entered and pulled the boy to his feet. The alien girl tried to stop them. "Please," she begged, "he can barely walk." The older guard hesitated. For a brief moment, he looked ashamed. "I'm sorry," he said. "Orders are orders." They took him to the upper chambers of the court, an enormous room filled with bright glass and flowing energy. The governor sat on a high throne, his silver eyes sharp and unfeeling. Behind him, a circle of alien officers stood silently. When the boy was brought in, the governor studied him for a long time. "You are the one who interrupted a lawful punishment," he said. "You stood against the court, against our law, against our kind." The boy didn't answer. He could barely breathe. The governor leaned forward. "Tell me, human, why did you do it?" The hall was silent. All eyes waited. The boy looked up slowly, his voice quiet but firm. "Because she didn't deserve pain for being kind." A low murmur spread across the chamber. The governor frowned. "Do you know what your action caused?" "The people are talking. The soldiers are questioning orders. You have disturbed the balance." "I didn't mean to disturb anything," the boy said. "I just couldn't watch and do nothing." The governor rose from his throne. He circled the boy slowly like a shadow. There's something different about you, human. You are either foolish or dangerous. The boy's lips curved faintly. Maybe both, the governor stopped. Then for the first time, a small smile appeared on his cold face. What is your name? The boy hesitated. He had forgotten what it felt like to be asked that. After a moment, he said quietly, My name is Aaron. The sound of it echoed softly through the hall. A name, simple, human, and full of meaning. The governor nodded slowly. Aaron, he repeated. From this day forward, your name will be remembered. But remember this, you have no idea what you've started. He waved his hand and the guards released him. Take him back. The court will decide his fate later. As they led him out, the alien girl waited near the door. When she saw him, she rushed forward and hugged him tightly, ignoring the guards. You told them your name, she whispered, her voice trembling. He smiled weakly. It felt right. That night, across the alien city, people whispered that name. Aaron, the human who stood before the lash. The one who defied fear. And somewhere deep inside the alien girl's heart, she made another promise, no matter what happened next. She would make sure that name would never be forgotten. The prison walls hummed with the sound of electricity. Metal corridors glowed faint blue under the watch of hovering drones. Night had fallen again and rain whispered against the roof of the alien fortress. Inside a dim cell, Aaron sat quietly. His wounds still burned, but his mind was clear. Every breath he took reminded him why he was still alive, because of her. The alien girl, now dressed in a guard's cloak she had stolen, stood near the barred door, her heart pounding like thunder. They'll execute you tomorrow, she whispered. The governor's council wants to make an example out of you. Aaron didn't look surprised. I figured, he said calmly. They can kill me. But they can't kill what people saw. Her voice shook. You think that matters? If you die, your story dies with you. He met her eyes and smiled faintly. Then tell it for me. She looked at him, weak, scarred, yet unbreakable, and realized she couldn't let him go. Not like this. Not after everything he had done. Get up, she said. He frowned. Why? Because we're leaving. The words hung in the air like lightning. Aaron stared at her, unsure if he heard right. She pulled out a small magnetic key. I stole this from the commander, she whispered. It opens the lower gate. He hesitated. You'll be hunted. She gave a small, trembling smile. I already am. With a soft click, the cell door opened. For the first time since his arrest, Aaron stepped out. The corridor was empty, but danger was everywhere. They moved quietly, her steps light, his slower but determined. Sirens wailed somewhere in the distance. They reached a wide hallway glowing red with warning lights. 2 guards stood near the end. The girl grabbed Aaron's arm and pulled him into the shadows. Wait, she whispered. She took a deep breath, then stepped out and pretended to limp. Help, she cried. The prisoner escaped. The guards rushed toward her. As they passed, Aaron struck one with a metal rod he had picked up. The other turned, but the girl swept his leg and stunned him with his own weapon. Both fell before they could sound the alarm. Aaron stared at her in shock. Remind me never to make you angry. She smirked. Now you know. They ran through the winding halls, past flickering energy barriers and sealed gates. At every turn, she used her stolen key to open paths few knew existed. Outside, lightning split the sky. Rain poured down the walls like melted glass. Finally, they reached the outer gate, a towering door of black steel guarded by automated turrets. The exit shimmered with an electric shield. Aaron stopped. How do we get through that? The girl's voice broke. There's only one way. I can override it from the control tower, but I'll need to stay behind. Aaron grabbed her wrist. No. We go together. You can't, she said, her eyes filled with tears. They'll catch you if I don't buy time. For a moment, neither spoke. The storm outside howled, shaking the metal around them. Then slowly, she pressed something into his hand. A small pendant shaped like a tear made of light. My brother's, she whispered. He died because of hunger. You saved me from that same fate. Aaron closed his hand around it. I'll bring it back to you, he promised. She smiled through her tears. Then run, human. Run before they take your courage away. As she turned toward the control room, Aaron hesitated, watching her silhouette disappear into the flickering red light. He wanted to stop her, but the alarms had already begun to scream. Drones flooded the corridor, their red eyes flashing. He ran, past the towers, past the electric gates, into the rain-soaked night. Lightning lit his path as the shield finally dropped. Behind him, explosions echoed, her doing, her sacrifice. When he reached the outer cliffs, he turned once more. The fortress burned under the storm. He whispered her name into the wind. Then he vanished into the dark forest beyond, carrying her brother's pendant and a story that would not die. The storm had passed, but the sky still burned red with the memory of fire. Smoke rose from the alien fortress in the distance where explosions had ended the night before. Aaron walked through the soaked forest, every step heavy, every breath sharp. The pendant in his hand glowed faintly, a silent reminder of the girl he had left behind. For hours he moved without rest. His clothes were torn, his back scarred, but his will was stronger than ever. He didn't know where he was going, only that he had to keep her promise alive. To survive, to tell their story. By sunrise, he reached the edge of the alien city. The streets were quiet, abandoned by soldiers who now searched for him beyond the walls. Whispers spread among the people, rumors of a human who defied the governor, who survived the lashes, who escaped death itself. Many didn't believe it, but those who did began to feel something dangerous and new: hope. In the lower quarters, aliens and humans worked side by side under the factory lights. When they saw Aaron limping through the fog, they froze. One alien worker whispered, "It's him!" The human who took the lashes. Another bowed his head. Soon, others followed. Aaron didn't ask for it, but suddenly hundreds were standing quietly around him. They didn't cheer. They didn't shout. They just looked at him the way people look at a sunrise after a long night. He tried to speak, but his voice broke. "I'm no hero," he said softly. "I just did what was right." A small alien child stepped forward, eyes wide. "My mother said you saved one of us," the child said. "Is it true?" Aaron knelt, ignoring the pain in his back. "Yes," he whispered. "And if I could, I'd do it again." The child smiled. In that moment, the crowd understood something powerful. The walls between them weren't as strong as they once seemed. Far away, in the ruins of the fortress, the alien girl opened her eyes. She was alive, wounded, weak, but alive. The governor's soldiers found her among the debris, holding the broken key device in her hand. When they brought her before the governor, she didn't beg. She stood tall, bruised but proud. "You helped him escape," the governor said coldly. "Do you know what that means?" She looked him in the eye. "Yes," she said. "It means your people saw something greater than fear." The governor stared at her for a long time. Then unexpectedly he turned away. "Release her," he ordered. His voice was quiet but heavy. "Let her go. The Empire has already seen enough." Months passed. The story of Aaron and the alien girl spread far beyond the city. In the outer colonies, humans and aliens whispered it like a legend. Some said the boy still lived in hiding, helping others escape. Others said he died that night in the storm. No one truly knew. But one thing was certain: change had begun. The governor abolished public lashings. The workers were treated with more dignity. And near the great hall where it all started, a monument was built. It stood tall under the twin suns, a statue of a human boy, his body scarred, standing before an alien girl with one arm shielding her from an invisible whip. At his feet, the words were carved in both languages. "Courage has no race. Mercy has no species." Every day people came to see it, humans, aliens, children. They left flowers and pieces of bread at the base of the statue, remembering the moment when one small act of defiance changed the heart of an empire. And one evening, as the light faded, a cloaked figure appeared before the monument. It was the alien girl. Her hair had grown longer, her eyes older, wiser. She touched the carved name on the stone, Aaron. "You kept your promise," she whispered, tears in her voice. "The world remembers." She placed her brother's pendant at the foot of the statue, the same one Aaron had once carried through the storm. The light inside it flickered once, glowing softly like a heartbeat. As the night settled over the city, the statue shimmered under the starlight. And though the human boy was gone, his courage lived on in every act of kindness, in every spark of rebellion, in every heart that dared to stand against cruelty. The legend of Aaron, the human who said, "Punish me," became more than a story. It became a promise between two worlds, that no act of compassion is ever wasted, and no pain suffered for love is ever forgotten.